Bobby Dirkens here. Thank you so much for joining me for my preview of the 2019 Sugar Bowl between the number 15 Texas Longhorns and the number 5 Georgia Bulldogs. And for this special occasion, I have repenned a classic. Georgia, Georgia, you're playing Texas in the Sugar Bowl. Yep, that's about all I got. Hey, if you don't know me now, you do. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification so you know when this insanity is coming on. Listen, people love me. Or they absolutely hate my guts. You figure out who you are. I'm just glad you're here. Let's talk about the game. You say Texas, you say Georgia. You're talking about great college football history. Great players that's come out of there. Now, and it's really the story of two young coaches. One in his third year, one in his second year. Kirby Smart, in his second year, got Georgia to their first national championship game since 1980. That was a real quick turnaround. And, I mean, he's recruiting at a high level, continues to develop players, doing really good things in Athens. It's his third year now, as I said. In just his second year, Tom Herman has got Texas in the biggest bowl game they've been in since 2010 when they played against Alabama in the Rose Bowl for the national championship. Of course, in the last few minutes, they lost the national championship to Alabama. That hadn't happened before. Anyway, so let's kind of get a closer view to them. If you're like me, you love college football, but you kind of keep like a 10,000 feet, kind of view of college football. Let's learn a little more about these teams, know what this game is going to be like. Texas comes in with a 9-4 record. We have Georgia at 11-2. Texas on the offensive side of the ball, they average about 31 points per game. Georgia, on the other hand, about 40 points per game. Really, really strong. They pass the ball. They run it well. They have some really good running backs. So let's get to the quarterbacks before I get to that. Texas, Sam Ehlinger, 3,123 yards passing, 25 touchdown passes, and only 5 interceptions. Might I also add that he is the leader in rushing touchdowns for Texas with 13 touchdowns. Guy can move. Jake Fromm, on the other hand, last year took over for the injured starter right before the Notre Dame game. He's been the starter all the way up to this point. Got them to the national championship. Fromm is doing great things. Great quarterback. 2,537 yards on the season. 27 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Notice both these guys throw the ball at a solid amount. That, quite honestly, 5 interceptions is pretty doggone good. Pretty doggone good. Good. They're just not game managers. They're game impact players. Running backs for Texas. Trey Watson, 695 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Keontae Ingram. I like that name, Keontae. 683 yards and 3 touchdowns. Georgia, we know more about their running backs. Kind of bigger names, especially with us being in the South. If you're not in the South, I'm not excluding you. It's just, football kind of lives here. It's kind of like our religion, where Jesus is Lord, football is king, and I'm one of the preachers. But no, DeAndre Swift, 1,037 yards, 10 touchdowns. And then Evander Holyfield's youngin'. Elijah Holyfield is playing running back for Georgia as well. 956 yards, 7 touchdowns. On Texas team, and their wide receiving court, probably one of the coolest names in college football. Lil Jordan Humphrey. I wonder if that's on his driver's license. I'd demand to see a Social Security card. Little Jordan Humphreys, dig it. 1,109 yards, 9 touchdowns. Colin Johnson, 945 yards receiving, 7 touchdowns. Georgia, Mecole Hardman, 529 yards, 6 touchdowns. Riley Ridley, 509 yards and 9 touchdowns. Then we have Jeremiah Holloman. He has 5 touchdowns. He kind of gets lost with those 2, and that's when you end up seeing him in the end zone. These teams has really, really good defensive core. Go through some of their names, get on to what we can take away from this. Gary Johnson, leading tackler for Texas, linebacker, 85 tackles, 5.5 sacks. We have defensive lineman Charles Omenihu, now I'm international, 9.5 sacks. Caden Stearns, 4 interceptions. That's pretty solid. On Georgia, you got Richard LeCompte, 67 tackles. Linebacker Monty Rice, 59 tackles. J.R. Reed, 58 tackles, 2 interceptions. Tyson Campbell, Baker, you know the names. Place kicking, this is pretty big. I normally don't mention these guys. I admit it, they get lost in the shuffle, but here we go. For Texas, Cameron Picker, is that Picker? I think it's Picker. I can't read my own writing. 16 of 22 He did hit a 52-yard field goal, and then probably one of the most recognizable faces in college football, Georgia's kicker, Rodrigo Blankenship. He has the glasses and everything, 19 of 23, 53 yards. So both these guys, if they get in a long situation, they have the leg to hit those big-time kicks. Okay, let's talk about it. It's going to be painful for some of y'all. Some of y'all are going to get all pissed off. You're going to talk about Clemson stuff. I ain't talking about Clemson. It's about Georgia and Texas. They ain't playing Clemson. So I picked at Clemson. If I pick at Clemson, Lord knows I will pick at you. So here we go. Head-scratching moments for both teams. Texas, question. How did you lose to Maryland 2 years in a row? Like, I want to know this. Like, how do you do that? They're not that good. They're changing coaches like my uncle changes underwear. What's going on there? Then on the other hand, I step back and say you were very, very close to 11-2 season yourself. I mean, you in a 2-week period, you lost by 4 points. You lost by 3 to Oklahoma State. You lost by 1 to West Virginia. Now, counting the points you would need just to have one more point just to win, you're basically 6 points away. I couldn't count my toes quick enough. 6 points away from 11-win season. It's really, really good. It is what it is. So that's for you, Texas. I really, really don't get it. I don't know how that happens. You did have a big win against Oklahoma. You did have a big win against Oklahoma, so your team is on the rise. Georgia, head scratcher, 36-16 to LSU. One of the most anemic offenses in the country, ever. I mean, good Lord, even when they had Odell Beckham and Landry, 7-8 years ago, I don't know, about that time frame, still couldn't score. I mean, think about that. I mean, a loss is one thing. By 20 is another. You did give the game away to Alabama. I know you're tired of hearing about that. Let me tell you this. Alabama did not beat y'all that day. Y'all beat yourselves. You know it. I'm not going to rub that in. This is not an attempt to rub it in. I'm saying you have the talent to do great things. And that's one thing I will thank you for. Thank you for beating our rivals. South Carolina so bad down in Columbia this year. That was great to see them shut up. By the way, here's a shameless plug. You can go on Amazon, iTunes, or Spotify and find my song, Peck Your Dookie Chicken. Yes, I'm serious. You can find this Bobby Dirkens, Peck Your Dookie Chicken, where I wrote some songs about South Carolina. Now they really hate me. But thank y'all for doing that. So, why would I mention all of this stuff? Why would I mention that Justin Fields just transferred this week? To taunt you? No. I think Justin Fields transferring is actually going to play in your favor, Georgia. Because Fromm now doesn't have to live with being perfect. He can go out there and sling the football around. Now, does that mean that maybe he could make more mistakes because he's not on his A game? It could. But I think it's going to calm him down to where the fan base is not turning against him if he doesn't play perfect. It is what it is. So what do I think is going to happen between these two teams? Well, if we go back to... Here's another stat for you. Texas allows 26 points per game. Georgia only allows 18.5 points per game. Totally different. Look at me. Let me tell you this. I thought that last year, and I know it was last year, some different players and so on, Oklahoma would not move the ball on Georgia. And Georgia had an incredible defense. Oklahoma did move the ball. I think, obviously, Oklahoma's offense from then and now is better than Texas. But I'm just saying, if you think that Texas is just going to come out there and go, ooh, we get to play an SEC team, let me shake your hand. Now, you beat us by 30, and we'll go home. It's not going to happen. But there's a reason Georgia's a 14-point favorite. Georgia is going to hit you with the run. They're going to hit you with the pass, and their offensive line, barring injuries that I can think of, is really, really strong. If this game goes into a shootout, I still believe that Georgia will win the game. But I will tell you this, be very careful, Georgia. Be very careful that you are not hung over from the SEC championship. Be very careful that you're not sitting there just pining away that you're number 5 and not number 4. I don't think the Fields thing is going to be a problem for you. As I said, I think it's actually going to play in your favor. Texas, you cannot make any mistakes against this team. They will take advantage of it. Texas, if you're going to call your best plays of the year, now is the time. It'd be a great time to show the country that you are not only just a 10-win season with this win, if you were to win it. It would also show that you could beat a team who has elite talent, who could very easily be in the college football playoff, and as a favorite to win the national championship. So, I believe Georgia's going to win this ball game 31-17. I believe it because I see the power that they have. I see the power on the offensive side of the ball, and I believe that they are pissed off that they're not in the college football playoff. And I believe just like TCU unloaded on Ole Miss a couple of years ago when they got left out of the college football playoff, 31-17 is not really just unloading on somebody, but it is a commanding victory. I believe that Georgia's just going to overpower them. Well, anyway, I'm going to, as I said, 31-17, I call it. Georgia's going to win the Sugar Bowl. It's going to be a big deal. Texas still will have a good season. It is what it is. Thanks so much for joining me. Remember, hit subscribe. You can find me on Twitter at BDirkens, BDIRKENS. Yes, I can spell. And then on Instagram at TheBobbyDirkens. Remember, you keep showing up. Lord knows I'll keep showing out. Bobby Dirkens.